everyone, and welcome to Shelby This Week. On today's program, heating fire hazards, a red hot dance, and school snow days. All this plus much more. But first, are there any fire hazards in your home? Some warning signs that you should look out for? Sarah Shunk has more on this story.
When weather looks like this, people often turn to this to keep warm. But like everything else, if it's not used properly, tragedy can strike. According to the National Fire Protection Association, space heaters are involved in 79% of fatal home heating fires. And recently, a 1-year-old boy from Detroit died as a result of being placed too close to a space heater. Steve Hennion of the Shelby Fire Department gives us a few reminders on home heating safety.
One of the things that we recommend with space heaters is clearance. One of the rules that we use is 3 foot. Anywhere you have a space heater, you want to have 3 foot of clearance all around it.
Hennion says to make sure you keep high combustible items far away from the heating source. These are often the cause of house fires. And also, double check for circuit overload.
Another thing you want to look for, if it's plugged into the wall and you're breaking, the circuit's breaking, the breaker's going often, you want to make sure that you're not using it there because there's a overload on that circuit and you could potentially have a fire as well.
If it seems you're running your space heater too much, you may want to double check your furnace.
This winter with the weather being as cold as that it is, you want to make sure that you're cleaning out your filter in your furnace regularly. And once again, when you go to your furnace, make sure you have that 3 foot rule as well around the furnace and hot water tank. So nothing close to that can catch on fire.
Keeping the 3 foot rule in mind with all heating sources and never running space heaters unattended will help keep you from becoming a statistic. For Shelby This Week, I'm Sarah Shunk.
And speaking of the fire department, mark your calendars for a night of red hot fun. The Shelby Township firefighters are hosting their annual 24th annual Red Hot Night Dinner Dance fundraiser. The event is on Saturday, February 15th at the Palazzo Grande. Along with a delicious meal, there will be a raffle, door prizes, and dancing. All proceeds go to the Great Lakes Burn Camp. For tickets, call 586-731-3476 or 586-634-4120. Freezing temperatures and snowstorms have been dumped on us all winter season, and they're taking a toll on our school system. Parents are wondering how many school days will be made up at the end of the year. Katie Shimatero has more.
This record-breaking winter has brought even more snow our way, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon. Now, what the Community Relations Director for Utica Community Schools is saying on the matter. Utica Community Schools are allowed 6 snow days before the time must be made up, and UCS has already reached 8 snow days with predictions of even more on the way. Tim McAvoy says the mandatory hours must be met.
We also need to ensure that we have 1,098 hours of instruction, and so where that would come into play is if a school has to close early due to a water main break or there's some other issue that we need to close school early at a particular building, there may be an issue revolved around hours.
And how is a snow day determined by UCS?
Every inclement weather situation is reviewed based on the circumstances at hand, and so we take a look at road conditions. We'll have people out driving the roads, looking at subdivisions, looking at main roads. We have 44 different sites that we need to take care of and make sure that they are ready for a school day. We're 66 square miles, so there's a great deal of work that has to go into the preparation of the school day if there is an inclement weather situation.
If a snow day is determined, how early can you expect to hear that classes are canceled?
Generally, the decision is made by 5 o'clock in the morning. If we're able to, and we've been fortunate this year, we've been able to do it several times, we will make that decision as early as possible so that people can make alternate plans.
But what about the seniors who typically end their school year weeks before lower classmen? Will their year be extended, and will graduation be affected?
As I said before, we'll have to take a look at all the options we have available to us, and it would be the same for seniors, that we'll look at what information that we need to gather and make a decision that makes the best instructional sense for the school district.
Tim McAvoy says a lot of factors play a role in canceling classes for an entire day, but the final decision is always based on student safety. For Shelby This Week, I'm Katie Shimatero.
Schools are transforming classrooms digitally. Students at Utica schools recently had Digital Learning Day, and Chrisman Elementary took part in this national campaign to improve digital learning. In the fast-paced, competitive workplace, digital technology is always used and ever-changing. Now, students are developing skills to master new digital programs. Teacher Courtney Conley tells us more about Digital Learning Day.
I feel like Utica Schools does digital learning every day. I feel like we're the front runners of technology from Macomb County, and so we're always doing things. The teachers have computers in their classrooms. We have interactive whiteboards. Lower L has iPads in their classroom. Second grade has iPads where they read stories. So we're doing this all the time.
Sixth grader Celine Matway says she loves digital learning because she learns something new every day.
I like the technology because it's helpful for homework websites and in school because we get to use websites for our homework, and we have stuff that we need to use to get our homework done, like Dreambox for As Kids and Moto.
UCS teachers have a website, and students can go online at home and study.
It's a new way to help us learn in school, and I think it's a lot easier and simpler to do with technology. I'll know a lot more about how to use technology, and it'll be a lot easier for me.
Student Reagan Napoleon tells us what she likes best about digital learning.
I like to go on our websites, and because we go on Discovery Science and Discovery Education a lot, and we do our testing on it, like NWEA testing.
Students are also learning about communication. When you're face-to-face, it's easy to speak to somebody and be clear. But when you're online typing or texting, communication is different.
So what the students are learning now is how to collaborate online, how to use digital citizenship and speak clearly online, and talk to kids in a positive way, because that's obviously changing, that they're going to be online more, and their communication online is different than face-to-face. So that's basically showing them how to communicate now will help them in the future to become better communicators. And I think that we have to be cautious of feelings and personalities, and we've been, the Media Center teachers actually this year have really been focusing on that and using correct digital citizenship for the students.
With digital communication, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders are using web tools such as blogging and surveys. Student Brenna Carl tells us why she likes to blog.
I like to see other people's different opinions on how they use their technology and what they use to help with homework and stuff.
Students can also view polls, see data change, compare data, and evaluate data. Teachers at UCS are continuing to use the power of technology to engage students creatively. And speaking of UCS, Superintendent Dr. Christine Johns was recognized for her outstanding education technology vision. Dr. Johns was one of 8 national educational leaders to earn a 2014 Tech Savvy Superintendent Award. Dr. Johns has used technology to empower students, prepping them for the real world. Well done, Dr. Johns, on your clear vision of technology and education. Education is the best way to success, so Township Clerk Stan Grote will be offering scholarships for educational opportunities. Scholarships are available for all students with any major, but are intended for students with a passion for government. Scholarships are $300 and open to all hardworking students. Applications are available in counseling offices. Coming up, park plans and a local grocery store is shutting down. Stay tuned.
G-morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. Text me. Are your parents home later? We can hang. LUV, love you. JK. Holla back. Holla back. Holla back. Are you with your friends? That's lame. We're in a huge fight right now. XO. What'd you dream about? Something I did? Are you on your way to the mall? I'm lonely. Nude pics. Send me some. Text me.
Plans for Utica parks are in the works. We spoke with the city's mayor, Jacqueline Noonan, about a new 5-year Parks and Rec master plan. The proposal includes new structures and inventory of all parks. Mayor Noonan has worked alongside Macomb Planning and Economic Development Director Stephen Casson. He says a city must have an up-to-date 5-year plan if they want to receive any type of state park grants. The city wants the public's input. There's a public hearing scheduled for February 11th at 7:45 p.m. at City Hall. Improvements include a facelift to the Macomb Orchard Trail and connections from the Utica Recreation Area to Riverbends Park in Shelby Township. Mayor Noonan says she is thankful for the support from the surrounding communities. If the draft is approved, it will be submitted to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources by March 1st. Governor Rick Snyder recently proposed a $52 billion state budget that includes a tax break and funding for public universities. The Republican governor wants to fuel Michigan's future in a constructive, positive way. Snyder, who is up for re-election in November, is budgeting $5 million to expand home-delivered meals for seniors and another $5 million in new funding to establish a state tuition program for Air and Army National Guard personnel. Well, no one likes waiting in line. A new system will help long lines at Secretary of State branch offices. A program called My Timeline, introduced by Secretary of State Ruth Johnson, lets customers check in online or by phone, and the new computer system will hold their place in line while they go about their day. Then, people will be notified that their turn is coming up. My Time is a pilot program. It's been introduced at 10 local offices around the area. We'll see how the virtual line technology goes. Unpopular potholes have been popping up on streets. Unannounced, the freezing temperatures along with snow plowing causes major potholes to arrive. County Executive Mark Hackel said recently, call 911 only if a pothole causes an accident. All police outlets want to reiterate that only potholes that pose a threat need to be reported to law enforcement. Once the pothole is recognized, dispatch will report it to the Michigan Department of Transportation or the Department of Roads. Officials discuss the urgency of a pothole. Not to worry, dispatchers know how to prioritize 911 calls. Major emergencies come first, then pothole problems. And of course, you can always call the MDOT pothole hotline. Another local grocery store is closing their doors. Kroger on Van Dyke and 23 Mile announced they're going out of business. The popular grocery store is frequented by many Shelby Township residents, but the long-standing building, dated facade, and aged interior has grocers going elsewhere. A new Kroger is being built on 23 and Hayes. This new Kroger will be the first of its kind. They'll sell groceries, jewelry, home goods, and clothes. Another Kroger is also located at 25 and DeQuinder for shoppers to use. We'll see what will replace the old Kroger in the 23 and Van Dyke Strip Mall. Businesses seem to die off fast in that shopping center. CVS Pharmacy is snuffing out cigarettes. The pharmacy chain announced recently they will stop selling cigarettes and other tobacco products in their stores. The reason? Efforts to help make the next generation tobacco-free. They hope to have their stores tobacco-free by October 1st. CVS has over 7,600 stores nationwide. They're the first national pharmacy chain to take tobacco products off their shelves. There's sugar, then there's added sugar. A new study shows that people who eat too much added sugar are more likely to suffer from heart disease. Sure, all things might have sugars, but when sugar is being added to everything we eat, it gets unhealthy quick. Here's some numbers. Added sugar in 1 slice of whole wheat bread, 2 teaspoons. A container of yogurt, 7 teaspoons. And what about that instant oatmeal packet? Think healthy? Yeah, well, there's 3.5 teaspoons of added sugar to your oats. Want to keep added sugar at bay? When cooking, swap white sugar for vanilla or almond extract. Up next, Olympic injuries. Stay tuned.
It happened. This week in history. Born February 8, 1943 in Los Angeles, California, is William Charles SNYDER. Coming from a musical family, he took to music at an early age and bought his first guitar at the age of 13. As he got older, he traveled the world as a musician, eventually changing his name to Creed Bratton. Back in the States, Creed joined a group called the 13th Floor, who eventually changed their name to the Grassroots. They reached the top spot with their first recording, Let's Live for Today. He was separated from the band at the end of 1968 and worked as an actor in small films and TV. In 2005, he was back in the spotlight after the success of the sitcom The Office, where he played no one other than Creed Bratton. February 9, 1969. Hollywood loses one of its most famous sidekicks as George Francis Hayes, or Gabby as he was known, dies at St. Joseph Hospital in Burbank, California, at the age of 83. Hayes took a vaudeville career in New York and parlayed it into a Hollywood film career, where he worked mostly westerns, despite later admitting he never was a big fan of westerns. Through his career, Hayes partnered with many popular actors, working with Roy Rogers, Gene Autry, Randolph Scott, and John Wayne, who he worked with in 15 films. February 10, 1962. Captured U.S. U-2 spy plane pilot Francis Gary Powers and American student Frederick Pryor are swapped for U.S.-held KGB agent Rudolf Abel at the Glenanki Bridge in Berlin, Germany. The exchange between the Russians and the U.S. was a highly publicized event in the midst of the Cold War, where each country was trying to gain the upper hand in espionage. February 11, 1936. Born in Waycross, Georgia, is Burton Leon Reynolds, Jr. Living part of his childhood in Lansing, Michigan, he attended high school at Palm Beach High School in Florida, where he excelled in football. Soon he was going to play halfback for Florida State University, but an injury eventually ended his football dreams. He then pursued acting after some stunt work, first on Broadway, then TV, and eventually the movies, where he became one of the biggest box office draws of the 70s and 80s. February 12, 1914. In honor of former U.S. President Abraham Lincoln, the first brick of what would become the Lincoln Memorial is laid in Washington, D.C. Construction was completed with a dedication in May of 1922, where Lincoln's only surviving son, then 79-year-old Robert Todd Lincoln, was in attendance. And on February 13, 1967, the Beatles released a powerful record in the United States that would become known as a double A-sided single. Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields Forever would eventually reach the number 1 and number 8 spot respectively on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100. The band also released a promotional film for each of the songs in what could be called an early music video. It happened. This week in history.
The Winter Olympics are underway. Popular winter sports like skiing, snowboarding, and more. And right here in Shelby Township, John Martin talks to a specialist about a common injury in winter sports.
Downhill skier Lindsey Vaughn was planning to compete in this year's Winter Olympics, but after this fall, which resulted in an ACL tear, she had to withdraw. Her injury was not completely healed in time for the Games. A torn anterior cruciate ligament is a common sports injury.
The anterior cruciate ligament stabilizes your thigh bone to your shin bone, and it prevents the shin bone from sliding forward on your knee when you're running, jumping, walking, turning, things like that. The anterior cruciate ligament connects the thigh bone to the shin bone, and what it does is it prevents your knee or your leg from rotating or translating front to back when you're walking, skiing, running, jumping. Without it, Your knee can become unstable, which could make you more prone to develop arthritis and injure other ligaments. And it can also disturb how you perform your activities of daily living and how you perform in sports. The injury usually occurs from a non-contact twisting of your foot, such as when you're wearing cleats when you're playing football, or if somebody strikes you in the knee in the right way and it makes you twist your knee, and you can hear a loud pop and have a lot of swelling, and you'll know something is wrong and your knee may feel unstable. The surgery for an anterior cruciate ligament is a reconstruction, it's not a repair. And what we do is we take either tissue from your own body and use it to reconstruct your ligament, or we take donor tissue that's sterilized and processed, and we use that to reconnect the ACL. Physical therapy is actually a really important part of ACL surgery. Most of the time after surgery, our knees are weak and we're limping and we have limited range of motion. Therapy helps to gain your motion back, and it also helps to strengthen the muscles around the knee to help stabilize the anterior cruciate ligament as well. And therapy is also important in conditioning other parts of your body that you're not thinking about that are involved with the ACL, such as your low back, your hip, your ankles, and even your abdominal muscles.
If you have suffered an ACL tear and want information on surgery, call the physician referral line at 800-532-2411. For Shelby This Week, this has been John Martin reporting.
Oh, that looked like a very interesting surgery. Well, that's Shelby This Week. You can watch us online all the time at www.shelbytwp.org and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/ShelbyTWPTV. Thanks for watching.
Take my hand and start a brand new day. Underneath everything we are all people. And when we reach out a hand to one, we can influence the condition of all. That's what it means to live united.